A former Denver Nuggets star has just slammed the team in a wild way that fans should not be too surprised about at this point. With the Denver Nuggets going into a season that really proved that they made the right move just a couple months ago with one of the bigger trades that went down over this NBA offseason, while Michael Porter Jr. now refuses to get off podcasts and is also claiming that the Brooklyn Nets are doing something better than the Denver Nuggets. Yeah, those Brooklyn Nets, in fact. And we're going to discuss all of this, the implications behind it, everything that was said, and why the Denver Nuggets made one of the best moves in the offseason to trade Michael Porter Jr. And this is not just going to be me talking about all the comments he's made on podcasts recently. Honestly, it's barely about that. It's like 10% about that and 90% basketball reasoning that we are going to dive into. And let's do just that, guys. But before we get into it, if you're part of that 81% that's not subscribed to Nuggets Digest, make sure to subscribe. We got a bunch of good videos coming out that you do not want to miss out on. We're trying to get videos out every day. I was on vacation. We are going to have a bit more stuff as well coming your way very soon. We plan on getting this channel back to daily videos and having a bunch of fun while doing it. But let's talk some NBA basketball, because as we know, Michael Porter Jr., after being traded off the Denver Nuggets, has just went on an absolute tangent of some of the most weird things that anyone has ever said as an NBA player into a microphone. And, well, it's pretty surprising considering we've seen some crazy interviews with some NBA players in the past. And Michael Porter Jr. is going out there and making sure that trend continues. So much to where tweets are going viral, like this one right here by Anna Murray_Flurry, who said, "I don't know who the Nuggets had on staff to make sure Michael Porter Jr. never opened his mouth like this, but they need to be paid extra." And let's jump into a bunch of the things that Michael Porter talked about. And a lot of this, again, it's not that crazy stuff where it's like the school, the cat thing that I'm not trying to say fully in a full sentence just because there's no point to give that stuff light. But look, Michael Porter Jr. recently said, just talking about the NBA, man, I think this was a myth for me coming in to the NBA, that is something I believed, but I think it's also a misconception that a lot of people really believe, that everybody works really hard. You have to be talented and gifted, and you do have to work hard to get here, but a lot of people don't work on their game, don't work on their bodies, and don't work on staying healthy. Now, on top of that, Porter also said that they don't put the time into recovery as much as you would think. I have always been, as you know, super dedicated. I love to work hard, but I feel like that's not the case for every NBA player. I was also forced into it due to my injury situation. It's no secret that Michael Porter Jr. went through a ton of injuries, specifically to his back, but also had a torn ACL in his career as well. Porter has not been the model of good health, and the Brooklyn Nets took on his deal in exchange for Cameron Johnson, a trade that many wondered about if it would work out for the Nets in the long term. And Porter is already happy with the decision after having a good Nuggets tenure. I mean, throughout 3 years in the playoffs, or his last 3 playoff seasons, I should say, Michael Porter Jr. was an impressive part of the team, shooting 43% and 36% from 3. He did have a positive impact, though last year's playoffs was not his best run by any means, which was one of the reasons the Nuggets ultimately led to trading him away. Now, just going over everything that Michael Porter Jr. has said and has done, the basketball has been solid throughout his tenure, and he's saying that he's worked hard, but most people, they don't believe so. And he said, now with the Nets, I'm not even gonna lie, they got me working probably as hard as I've ever worked. Basically going out there and saying, you know what, the Denver Nuggets, the team that won an NBA championship in 2023, they are not having me work as hard as the Brooklyn Nets are, who won a championship in the ABA, I think twice, but you know, the ABA, not the NBA, not them, the ABA. But apparently, the Denver Nuggets don't work as hard or don't push Michael Porter Jr. as hard as he wanted. And so what happened? He is now on the Brooklyn Nets from a trade that worked out perfectly. And not just because of the comments that Michael Porter makes, but also when you look at Cameron Johnson recently and his production he's had over his last 3 playoff runs, and really his only 3 playoff runs when we talk about it, he's been great. I mean, he's been a very huge member. When they made the NBA Finals, the Phoenix Suns, he shot 44.6% from 3 throughout that entire tenure. Every single year that Cameron Johnson has been in the playoffs, he's performed well enough to the point where he's got a career playoff average of 41.6% from 3 and 49% from the field. He's been a solid beacon who's also grabbed some good rebounds and has just played solid basketball overall. Yeah, his points per game has not been crazy. Though his last playoff appearance with the Nets, he averaged 18.5 points per game on 51-43 shooting splits, which has shown Cameron Johnson has played better in the playoffs as of recently than Michael Porter Jr., meaning this move not only got Michael Porter, who's been saying a lot of crazy stuff on the internet, but also on top of that, just has not been performing the same way that Cameron Johnson has. I know this trade happened a while ago. I don't mean to fully go back over everything that happened, but recently with Michael Porter Jr. saying the Nets are pushing him harder, it is interesting to consider that it just becomes more and more clear that the Denver Nuggets did make the right move in going out there and making this decision. And Yossi Gazlan proved that by saying the Nuggets get significant flexibility by swapping Michael Porter Jr. for Cameron Johnson. They saved $40 million. They got under the luxury tax. They opened up a $14.1 mid-level exception, $14.1 million mid-level exception, and a $16.8 million trade exceptions, and more possibilities by getting under that first apron. What did it lead to? It led to a very, very deep Denver Nuggets team where Cameron Johnson arguably is just better than Michael Porter Jr. Now we've seen this whole thing play out. We've seen the Denver Nuggets go out there and sign Bruce Brown. We saw them go sign Tim Hardaway Jr. We saw them acquire Jonas Valanciunas. We saw them make a ton of moves. That Valanciunas move could not have been made if they didn't trade Michael Porter Jr. for Cameron Johnson. I'll tell you one thing, if you're going to tell me to pick between Michael Porter Jr. or Cameron Johnson and Jonas Valanciunas alone, I'm picking the latter. So now when we also see that they brought in Tim Hardaway Jr. and Bruce Brown and just really did that whole situation and got in a lot of good names, good veterans to have on this team, the Nuggets look like a much better team. There's a reason why they now have the second best odds to win the NBA Finals. It's because they were able to make moves like this that led to all of this being possible. Now, obviously, Cameron Johnson is an interesting guy. He said a lot of interesting things, and he has been very open about the fact that he's happy to be in Brooklyn, saying, I'm really excited for this next chapter out here in Brooklyn. I think over there in Denver, I felt like my ceiling kind of got plateaued. I myself am excited to expand my game and will be able to do what I do. So Porter, whether he means it or not, he's going out there and he's basically saying that the Nuggets were not pushing him hard enough and that he was not playing up to what he can do because they plateaued him. Well, the Nuggets have one of the greatest passing players in NBA history, not to mention by far the greatest passing center to ever grace the planet when it comes to basketball, and Porter was put into all situations where he would have been able to succeed. So saying that he's plateauing basically means, yeah, now I don't have two excellent players in Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokić to take away my shots so I can shoot 35 times a game. Well, get ready for Cam Thomas, buddy. That's not going to be as easy. So it's going to be interesting to see how Michael Porter Jr. plays as one of the top options and not being a guy who's part of a team that's a committee and that's winning NBA championships. And instead, he gets to put up empty scoring numbers for the next however many seasons. So all in all, it works out well for everybody, I guess. Michael Porter Jr. gets paid a ton of money to shoot the ball endlessly and put up great numbers while doing it, at least great simple stats. We'll see how the efficiency marks go about there. And the Denver Nuggets get a player who fits perfectly onto their team in Cameron Johnson, who now fits and is going to be able to do everything that Porter did, except at a more efficient level. Porter last season had his best season in the NBA. I'm not trying to pretend like he wasn't great for them. He put up 18 points per game, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. He shot 50% from the field and 39.5% from 3. His numbers did go down in the playoffs, but in the regular season, he definitely played well. And Cameron Johnson put up similar numbers, but albeit not as good as Michael Porter Jr.'s. He put up 19 points per game, which was good, and 4 rebounds, 3.5 assists. His defense was all right, and on top of that, he shot 47% from 3 and 39% from, or 47% from the field and 39% from 3, including 45% on corner threes. So all in all, I love this trade. I've loved this trade for a while, and I do think now what we're seeing out of this team is a situation that's going to work out best for everyone involved. The Nets, they get to take a chance on Michael Porter Jr., and the Nuggets get a guy in Cameron Johnson who's not going to say absurd stuff to the media, make everyone question his sanity, and on top of that, go out there and fit in perfectly to this team as the better playoff performer over the last couple of seasons. So overall, good move for the Nuggets. That's been made very clear with all the recent comments that Michael Porter Jr. has made. Look, Michael Porter Jr. is allowed to say whatever the hell he wants to say. No one's going to stop him. You can say whatever the hell you want. It's one of the great things about America, not to be like, oh, like America or whatever, but not to be anti-America either. I'm just saying, like, in a general sense, like, you got freedom of speech. Michael Porter is allowed to go out there and say whatever he wants. But for a team like the Denver Nuggets that likes to keep it a little bit more buttoned up, I think it's good that now he's on the Brooklyn Nets because it's the only way that anyone's ever going to care about the Brooklyn Nets to begin with. So I think this works out well for everyone. Guys, what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day. I'll catch you later.